vials. So that and the fact that companies are stepping up their production of vaccine, but remember the time frame, the life cycle of producing a dose of vaccine is actually quite long. So there's only so much equipment, and there's only so many base materials to make this, if you will. The good news again is that there are actually a total of 5 companies that will eventually be producing vaccines. So once all of the emergency approvals are given where appropriate, and the companies go into production, then it's a matter of logistics and shipping. Just to show you how uneven the marketplace is, today I got word from our public health official that Fresno County amazingly received another 10,000 doses of vaccine they weren't expecting. Well, they can't exactly say that because they actually requested 40,000 and they only got 8 at the beginning of the week. So 10,000 more showed up. Well, that's good news. It's closer to the 40,000, right? I think the problem I see as somebody who used to work in healthcare and who is, as my wife would say, suffering from engineer brain, I am fairly linear in my thinking, is who's running this show? Who's on first and what's on second? I think we need to have a little bit more coordination in terms of people being able to sign up. The joke I have with my brother, who's 77, I've gotten the vaccine first dose. He hasn't gotten anything yet. It's almost like trying to get a tea time at Torrey Pines. You got to get on the phone at 5 o'clock in the morning for that, 8 o'clock call. It's not fair. It's not equitable. And it's biasing against people that don't even have computers. So I hope that we begin to have reason in this process. What I've heard is that the state has already gone to serving education and educators in the distribution, but frankly, Fresno County has not committed to that yet because of a lack of vaccines. That doesn't mean you shouldn't inquire through your private healthcare provider, be it Kaiser or Adventist, and find out what they can tell you on their website or with a phone call. I don't think we have uniform information available across the county right now as to exactly who they are serving. Has anyone had any inquiries with any of the healthcare organizations? And do you have anything more than I've offered so far today?
I've talked to my doctor, Dr. Buckley, and they said they're here in town, and I have EdCare, but they're here in Reedley, and they say no, they are not going to be getting that. That is not anything that they have available to them. So.
Well, I use Kaiser, and I'm going in for my second shot on Saturday, theoretically. I won't know till I get there if I really will, but I'm crossing my fingers. I do want to say that I know that there is concern about reactions to vaccines. And I think you all saw my social media post where I was getting that first shot. I had less reaction, as I said before, than I did to my second shingles shot. It was a little site soreness, and that was it. As I understand it, though, I received the Moderna vaccine. I might get a stronger reaction the second time around because that's what you'd expect. Your immune system has already built up antibodies based upon the first vaccination. So you're probably going to have possibly a low-grade fever, muscle aches like you've got a mild case of the flu. Some people have had more intense reactions, like more pain in the arm that received the injection. So I think there's just some simple things to keep in mind, and I'm sure Nurse Kelly would back me up on this. Simple Aleve or Advil to really address the pain and fever. But nothing more than you do for basically a low-grade infection, and it should be fine. The reason they observe you 15 minutes after the injection is to make sure you're not going to have an allergic reaction and have a serious complication. So that's not to be downplayed, but it's not something that is very common at all. It's very uncommon. Any questions or conversation about vaccinations? Did I get it done as far as our news today?
So Rosa just posted in the chat, Dr. Buckley, that she's starting to get her first calls about Reedley being the vaccination site since Governor Newsom announced it today.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to get a message for Rosa to be giving out and get something on social media, at least letting people know that as soon as it's available, we'll let them know.
Yeah, so I've crafted a message with George already. We might need to add to it a little bit for the phone traffic, but we have a good core public service announcement that'll basically get with that. And I think our experience with our vendor who has been doing the testing proves to us we've got to get good signage. We've got to get some information on our website, because whether or not it's a third party doing the work or not, it's on our campus, and our community members rely on us for information about how to get there and what to do. And in our case, we're probably going to want to link back to the County Department of Health site, Fresno County, as far as signing up for appointments and all of that. We don't control any of that. We just need to be a middle person in terms of conveying them to the right website where they can get the information and have that appointment sign up. So any other suggestions while we're on the topic? What should we be considering as we begin to roll out the information around this? I'll just offer one thought, and that is, think about how special this is. The fact that we were selected to do this, and think of the fact we've been in this pandemic for nearly 10 months now, and think about the life-changing results, hopefully, of distributing these vaccines to our communities. The fact we can finally begin the opening process and getting life back to normal, although we don't know what that means anymore. I think we redefine normal. But this is a big deal, like I said at the beginning of the year. So,
George, I logged on. You were listing a number of media outlets that have contacted you. Have we heard from the local paper regarding this? I don't know if it is of any value to, release something to them to make sure they're in the loop.
Yeah, we might want to release that statement to John over at Mid-Valley Times.
Okay, I haven't heard from Mid-Valley Times yet. It's just been the TV stations so far.
Yeah. And are they connected with other, like Selma, Kingsburg? Isn't there some kind of relationship, or am I?
Mid-Valley Times is Reedley, Sanger, Dinuba, and then the Kingsburg Recorder is with Selma and Hanford. They've all two separate papers, 3 different towns.
Yeah, so maybe
or 6 different towns. Sorry.
2 announcements could cover a great deal of our service area.
Good idea.
Not that people just read the paper, but some do.
Yeah, we'll try to get out on social media as well as whatever the TV folks want this afternoon, this evening. But stand by as far as information goes. We just don't have real good information yet as to an exact date. It's just due to the logistics chain. So we'll let you know just as soon as we hear more. So if there aren't any more questions, I'm going to go ahead and move this on to Dale to talk about probably the second most important discussion, which is what's going to happen with our fall schedule. Dale?
I have to talk about that. All right. Well, I think probably everybody knows that, and we've been in this pattern for a while, for about almost a year now, in terms of trying to predict semester or so in advance what campus is going to look like, in the coming semesters. I think we've got summer pretty well figured out. We don't have a huge number of classes, and we have a higher proportion of online classes in the summer, even in a normal year. But fall's a little more tricky. It's further out. We are still hopeful, as we've been discussing, that the uptake of the vaccine will be wider, that there'll be a lower level of risk, perhaps, of face-to-face, that we might progress. If the color schemes are still in effect, that we might progress, I guess, up or down the color scheme, whichever way, so that conditions will be loosened, if you will. But the challenge is that we need to schedule for fall right away. RTG, Ready to Go, is already active. We're already advising students about the fall semester, summer and fall semester. The schedule is supposed to go live. I think originally it was March 1, with students enrolling March 15th. And we want to have as close to a reliable or concrete locked-in schedule as possible when it goes live. We want to avoid confusion, flipping back and forth, etc. The other thing we're struggling with, as everyone knows, is our enrollment is down this semester about 20% from where we thought it would be. And that's true whether you look at unduplicated headcount or full-time equivalent students. So that's challenging, something we can't sustain for very long. There's going to be some financial considerations, hold harmless in the short term, but long term, we need to work on recovering those students that aren't with us who normally we believe would be. And it seems like a big factor in that is resuming face-to-face instruction. So you can see just by this quick description, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of factors to consider. And what we're asking faculty to do is take a look. We asked a couple of weeks ago, take a look at your fall schedule. Let us know if you're going to remain face to face, because that's the way it was input originally, or are we going to need to make changes? And our hope was to reserve or preserve the ability to go in person if conditions improved enough to allow that. But as has been pointed out by faculty, there are so many unknowns. I think there's a reluctance on their part to commit to coming back in-person classroom instruction when there are those unknowns. So we've discussed it. Deans have discussed it. We discussed it in the COVID group. We've discussed it with the Academic Senate president and department chairs. And I think what we're hoping to achieve is that we, no matter how we deliver the courses, that we intentionally seek to create an engagement with students. So clearly that's in person. We think we know how to do that. There's an argument could be made that doing synchronous online would allow that or facilitate that engagement because you're meeting regularly at appointed times. You hopefully will see many of the students on a regular basis. You hopefully will, I know it's difficult, but pick up on if they're struggling and have a chance to speak with them. I think that same kind of engagement can be created with an asynchronous online class, but not all of us, I think it's safe to say, not all of us have advanced to the sophistication in delivery of online classes that we're able to create that engagement. So we have instructional designer to help with that. Erin Heasley, I think you've been introduced to Erin. She is more than capable of helping you with that. If you're in an asynchronous environment, I think what we'd like to see in terms of modality is a mixture of those modalities. And again, however we present the course is to really focus on creating that engagement with students and tapping into their, provide opportunities if it's asynchronous for them to meet with you. Maybe it's in a small group session, maybe it's office hours, maybe there's some other way you can create that kind of engagement. And then I guess finally, we do expect to hear back. We've already heard back from many departments and divisions about what they anticipate looking like in the fall. And so the deans and I will be compiling those. And we've got sort of anecdotally from deans, and maybe they can chime in here in a minute and describe just what they've received. But we'll compile those and see what our need for face-to-face classrooms is going to be, because I think, as we all know, the capacity of those classrooms is likely to be reduced. And so we'll have to find ways to accommodate the in-person requests while still holding the class size to lower caps. We're also looking at fairly quickly installing some technology in some of our rooms that would allow a part of the class to attend in person and perhaps part of the class to be remote on Zoom, with the idea perhaps of flipping those groups from class to class, allowing us to approximate our normal class size, but not have everybody in the room at the same time. So some of that's underway as well. So I think I'll stop. I'm hoping that was somewhat clear, the challenges we're facing. And again, I wish we could just say, well, this is what it's going to be for the fall. And this is how many classes are going to be online. This is how many classes are going to be face-to-face. This is what we want. Please design it this way. But I think the idea of compelling folks to deliver courses in a particular modality is, first of all, counterproductive, and secondly, it's really not part of the plan in the district or at the college. So I don't know if any of the deans want to chime in, maybe describe a little bit what they're hearing
There
from
was one
faculty.
question in the chat, Dale. Are you planning to do a larger than normal summer session to recoup some of the FTES?
It is going to be slightly larger, but not wildly larger. We have been able to grow during past few summers, but we've also, as over the academic year as a whole, we've undershot our targets. And so we're a little hesitant about projecting huge enrollments in the summer and being unable to reach that target.
Dale, this is Stephanie. I asked that question. I've just been hearing from statewide that people are getting much better results for summer enrollment than they are for the last spring. So I was hoping we could use that to support students and perhaps market that to our incoming freshmen as a leg up and a start for, starting on a good path as we go forward on that.
Okay, we'll take a look at that. I don't know if Todd is on with us, or David, Juan, anything you guys want to share, what you're hearing from the early returns, I guess, from departments?
I just got my updates yesterday and the day before. I haven't had an opportunity really to go through them with a fine-tooth comb. But I know that, at least, for example, the English department has offered an extensive array of different types of modalities and different types of times. And so, for example, we've got everything from face-to-face to hybrid to online asynchronous and online synchronous, all the way from 6 weeks to 12 weeks to 14 weeks to 18 weeks. And I know that the other departments like COM or ASL or some of the other social sciences, they've also been sort of working through that reconfiguration of schedules and trying to come up with the most opportunities for students to succeed that they can within the confines of our 18-week semester. So we've got a lot of choices and a lot of volunteers to do different types of classes. So it will be very beneficial, I think, for the students when we get to a place where we can actually integrate these into our curriculum.
All right, thanks. I saw Juan.
Yeah, for my area, for biology, for example, we have an increase in enrollment due to the fact that our classes are asynchronous online. So a lot of our students who are working in healthcare fields are taking those classes and taking advantage of that because they're getting their prerequisites done. So we have an increase in that area. So we are offering for the fall semester online courses, except for microbiology. For math, we're going back and forth in terms of trying to figure out what's best for the students. We're right now, Doug, our department chair, is working on the schedule. We are offering online and also some hybrid courses. And for child development, we are offering online courses as well. And hopefully some face-to-face down the road as well.
And then David, I know is predominantly face-to-face because of the nature of the coursework in his area. And he's got some that is delivered online. David, I don't know if you're with us. Right. Well, that's where we are, and happy to try to respond to anything in the chat or questions if you have them.
No, nothing else in the chat for this one.
Say, Melanie, could you basically give us an update on where we stand with our HVAC filters, airflow through buildings, that sort of thing, to give people an idea of what the physical layout looks like in the pandemic?
So we've been talking with district-wide maintenance, the maintenance group. So from what I've been able to hear or gather, so any of our newer systems that have been brought online here recently are already equipped with the new UV filters on any of the HVAC systems. So the new Mass Science building is going to already have the UV filters built into the system. Currently, our library, their system has the UV filters on it. All other systems on campus have what they call a MERV 13 filter or higher, but a minimum of MERV 13. MERV 13 is what the CDC is recommending that all buildings, and that is currently what hospitals use if they don't have systems that can handle the UV filters. We've already have those in place and have had those in place for a long time. Any of our HVAC systems that rely on fresh air returns have been open to 100% to allow 100% fresh air to come in through the HVAC system to help with all of, to make sure that we have good airflow coming into the buildings. We are going to be looking at the portable buildings. I need to confirm with maintenance that on our portable buildings that have standalone AC units, that we do have the MERV 13 filter or an equivalent on all of those buildings. So it would be like the LAL lab, the CTL lab, the portables 1 through 5, the 2 child development portables, all of those buildings. And so we are working to make sure that we meet or exceed all CDC standards regarding air handlers and filters on all of our air HVAC systems.
And where do we stand on personal protective equipment and sanitization, that sort of thing?
So we have, Mike Kaiser and his staff have been installing all of the hand sanitizer pump stations in all of the classrooms. We have the dispensers for Lysol wipes that we are going to be putting in classrooms. And I'm going to have to confirm with Mike that we finally got the Lysol wipes in. That has been a challenge. And that way we can start getting, as we have more face-to-face classes, we'll get all of those installed. I think he's trying to make sure and focus on the classrooms that we do have face-to-face instruction now. We still have, I don't even know how many cases of disposable face masks. We still have a very large supply of the white cloth face masks. He has ordered more face shields. We're currently working on getting more of N95 masks as they become available. And right now we are working with athletics and chemistry and biology to order. He finally got a line on gloves, which, if many of you know, trying to find gloves in this time right now is very difficult. And glove prices went from $4 a box to up above like $25 a box. And he's been able to find a good source at a reasonable price. It's kind of mid between those two. So we're going to be looking at ordering a pallet and a half, which is 48 plus 20, 48 cases on a pallet. So 48 cases plus another 24, and there's 10 boxes of 100 in each case. So we are going to be stocking up. And then we are working with departments also on plexiglass. I know we have outfitted a lot of the student services areas already and some classrooms, the labs. We're going to be looking at doing Mass Study Center when it goes into the new building, and then also the tutorial center. So we're moving forward with all of that.
Any questions for Melanie?
So I see in the chat, have the decks been cleaned in the student services building? Maintenance maintains that. They regularly have a schedule that they have to do all of that, so. And Debbie, part of it is it's just an old building. That's part of the reason why we're looking at trying to get it remodeled.
Melanie, are there opportunities for folks to give you ideas on other PPE options, and how do they do that?
So we have a task force going right now for CARES funding, which is trying to identify how to spend our CARES dollars on, whether it be for PPE, whether it be for additional equipment so students don't have to share, whether it be supporting our food pantries, whatever. And so we have a task force going, and maybe I can get Sam to drop in the chat when our next few meetings are gonna be, so that way if you can attend and give us ideas. We're trying to put together as many ideas as we can so we can make sure that the campus feels safe and we can relaunch our reopening plans.
And if I could for just a minute, in many of our meetings that we've had this week, I heard an interesting fact that I thought I should comment on here because it really took me back a bit. And maybe I got the number wrong, so I'll ask for Renee to fact check me on this. I heard that roughly $300,000 in checks that went out to students as part of our CARES support efforts basically were never cashed. And that indicates to me that I'll take personal responsibility that I didn't communicate effectively out to students that, number one, this money was coming to them, and number two, it wasn't a scam like Publishers Clearinghouse or something. This is real money for real support for you and your family, and you didn't have to pay it back. And I don't know exactly where that message didn't land as intended, but it obviously never resonated with our students. So I know that we've reissued the checks and we're going back at it again, but we have another round of funding coming out now, and we want to make sure that students understand the fact that this is intended to help them in their time of need. So Renee, did you have any thoughts about that?
You
Did
know,
I get the number right?
Yeah, I know there was quite a bit. I think Chris Cortez is on the line. She can probably share out what kind of occurred. There were a number of factors involved in that, and then the reissue of trying to get those monies to students. Chris, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
So we did have approximately 500 checks that weren't cashed. I don't know the exact dollar amount, but a huge number of them. There were only about 100 that were financial aid students, and a lot of that is bad addresses. People move around a lot, especially now. The other 380 were the group of students that were not financial aid students. So yes, those checks went out, and unfortunately they weren't, they were a couple $100 in most cases, because these are the non-financial aid students. But a lot of students were skeptical. A lot of them weren't sure. And we sent them probably a series of at least 3 emails. One to double check their address, one to let them know it was coming, and then one when it was dispersed. But a lot of students don't check their email either. So, but I can get you a dollar amount, but we did reissue some of those, but not many. So.
Well, I guess the message to everybody on this call would be, for those of you that serve students either in the classroom or anywhere else for that matter, and you have contact with them, let them know that we're going to be distributing more funding to them. And in particular, remind them that we have, for the first time ever, quite a sum of money available in our Hyatt completion grants that really are about emergency funding this semester. And we have other sources as well to help them. And don't forget, especially in that area of housing and food insecurity, we really want to make sure that people that have the need get access to those funds. So if you're in the front line where you have that communication directly with students and you get any indication they're having trouble, or just make a blanket statement to them, make them aware that this is for them and it's available for their use. Chris, any other thoughts?
Chris, there also is a question on who should they contact if they're in need.
They can contact financial aid. I did take down our emergency request just Monday, because we've got money that we're trying to figure out. We're working on a plan to disperse it. So the last town hall, after that town hall, I had almost 200 requests, like 192 requests for emergency grants that I review one by one to try to, target my response and my resources and figure out what they need. So, we're working on the plan. It will be approved through Melanie, and as soon as we get that money, we hope to get it out to students. And we are working on the same kind of tiered level of disbursements, and also based on enrollment. So that's part of the plan, but we'll see what it will be on our CARES webpage as soon as the plan is finalized.
It sounds like at least people were listening. That's a good bit of feedback. Thank you. Renee, what else would you like to offer today?
Along that line of thinking, we've got in Starfish, and I know that we've got financial aid and folks monitoring that in terms of flags, but that is something that's another location where you can actually raise a concern or at least ask for somebody to connect with the student. So to answer your question, Linda, that could be another opportunity. And along those lines, I just encourage you, faculty, to complete your progress survey. I believe, George, you sent out something recently on that. And so just encouraging you to complete that so students are knowing what they need and how to connect and what kinds of support you would like to see them get. Kudos, send them kudos. This is a great opportunity, a great time to really motivate them and support them and encourage them. I think the survey closes, the progress update closes on March 5th. I think Samara might be on the line if there's anything she'd like to share about that piece.
Yep, that's correct. It opened on Monday and it closes on March 5th. So there was the email that went out from George. Please reach out to us if you have any questions about it, starfishquestions@reedleycollege.edu, and we will definitely get in touch with you.
Yeah. Samara, do you mind posting in the chat that handout? I think there was a really good handout that was sent.
Sure. Yeah, I will do that.
Yeah. The other thing is I just want to let everyone know that the new Apply Now pages are up and running. Thank you, Kurt, and your team for doing all that work and all of those folks behind the scenes and making that happen. An announcement went out for that as well. So again, progress on that to help streamline the process for students. Kurt, is there anything you want to share on that?
Yeah, just shout out to Drew because he's a mastermind behind everything that we think of. But you know what, we're gonna kind of build it out a little bit more. We're gonna spend some time. I know we had talked about doing a simulation with the application and registration process. So just kind of as a heads up, we're gonna hopefully share at the next town hall how everyone can get involved and kind of reviewing the process and helping us make some changes. To better improve the experience that our students are having. So more to come on that in the next few weeks.
Great, thank you. And that's it for me.
All right. Any questions for Renee? Well, I know we're still living through challenging times, but at least based on today's experience, it would seem that we are getting better news. And let's hope that as time goes by, that news continues to get even better. I think we need to keep in mind, though, that through the past 10 months, we've had families disrupted. We've had families that have lost friends and family members to this pandemic, and we, as a family here at Reedley, we've certainly experienced that as well. So I think a little compassion for those that we work with every day, because we don't really know what they've gone through these past 10 months. We know our own experience, but we don't always know, what someone doesn't volunteer to share. So when we did our survey last year, we found some interesting data. And of course, we recently saw a study by the RP group that was an even broader survey of California students during the pandemic. And if you look at the information that was received back on the survey, basic needs was the huge foundational piece of this pyramid of information of what students really needed more than anything, was really those basic needs of housing and food. So we're doing the right thing with expanding our Tiger Pantry and Clyde's Closet. That's one of our major initiatives with the funding we got from Giving Tuesday. But at the top of that pyramid was the same thing we talked about on opening day, and it's the issue of connection and engagement and flexibility with our students, because they are facing these same challenging times at this point. So just a quick reminder that whatever we can do to help make that contact and engage with the student, because that is a lasting memory, especially during these times. You're all doing great work. I mean, this has been an unusual situation, to say the least. And I think what I'd like to finish with in terms of my formal comments is that, we're down 20% in enrollments. That's 1/5 of our students that have stopped out. And that may cause you to think, well, how are we going to get them back quickly? Well, they may not come back quickly, but I think we need to continue to communicate with each and every student that has stopped out and offer them opportunity and stay in contact and be persistent. Because what we don't want is to basically see a retrenching of generational poverty. We're just beginning to see things in place that help our communities and our residents begin to participate in education and higher education in particular. And we have so many things that are really good in this community that are going on. Our K-16 collaborative, all the great work that's been going on for years through Upward Bound, all the outreach through Kurt's team. I can't count the number of things that are going on. All the great work in Guided Pathways that Steph and others have helped coordinate, and Starfish through Samara. We're doing so many things. You'd think we were the size of Fresno City. I know that each and every one of you are doing the work of 4 and 5 people, and I appreciate that. Any questions for me before we call it a day? I guess what I'd like to put back to you as we're waiting to see if there's any questions, think about what Dale was saying, and that is that we have to be able to literally make our own future for this coming fall. We have this uncertainty about what our environment will look like, but as we've said before, we're going to maintain the safety of the campus and the safety of the working and learning environment. For those that can form a coalition of the willing, as I like to refer to it, if you're interested in coming back to campus and serving directly face-to-face or in some hybrid mode, we're very happy to have you. Realizing that we're probably going to set the footprint based upon whatever the red tier will allow. And if I'm not mistaken, that's what, about 30% of our space?
25%.
25%. So, with our small classrooms and the existing facilities, it creates some limitations. As Dale mentioned, we'd like to work with Dan Demers to help expand the available technology to have maybe a different opportunity for you to work with, and training as well this semester to see if you are interested in mastering that technology. But if you feel like you want to stay home, we understand that. Until we get vaccines fully distributed and we get back to normal, and we realize that along with that distribution, there's going to be further discussions. We have unions, and we have unions for a reason. As somebody who was a vice president of a faculty union and also actually built a union for middle management at one district, unions are a way to have conversations in a more formal environment, and they're intended to help protect people. So until those conversations take place and all of the agreements are in place, we're not going to, request that you come back until everything is really accomplished that needs to be accomplished. But for those that are interested in coming, the campus is always open to you and available. But remember, there is one more hurdle, I guess you'd call it, and that is recent legislation, as you probably have seen, requires us to report your whereabouts. Because you may have gotten one of those emails that said you were in this building on this day, and just be aware somebody walked through the hallway that might have had a COVID exposure. I think we've kind of gone from the sublime to the ridiculous at this point in terms of how much information we're actually reporting out. And I hope our legislators get a dose of reality and realize we don't need to be reporting this all the way to 2023, which is one of the legislative bills actually requires us to do at this point. So be aware. When you get a notice, it's for a reason to give you information to make decisions from. In many cases, it's information that may or may not have any direct impact on you. But it's going to be an interesting world of making sure that we collect that information and report on it every day. So when you come to campus, at the end of the day, you'll get that little survey you've got to fill out about where you were and who you visited. It shouldn't take very long, and we appreciate your patience with it. And at the appropriate time, we hope it will go away. So what can I say? That's our current life. So do we have any more questions?
There's one question in the chat. Can staff, students, or community members use the track for walking?
I'm going to say yes to that. It's open air, maintain social distancing, don't gather in groups, and I'd appreciate it if you'd wear your mask while you're doing that. I've been coming on campus, and I will admit I was on the back of the campus one day and I realized I didn't have my mask on. And who did I run into? One of the employees from Kings Canyon USD. So I'm busted. What can I say? I do my best to remember. I always religiously wear it inside. There are times when I forget outside. I think we all run into that. But let's try to remember that we are entering one of the most challenging phases with these variant versions of the virus that are going to be spreading. So until we get good distribution of vaccine, we're going to be at risk, and we need to maintain that social distancing and mask wearing. And don't forget to wash these too. Anything else? Yeah, don't use lane 1. I'm still working on trying to get that doggone track replaced. Right, Melanie?
Yes, we are. We have actually are reaching out right now to try to get confirmation on how we can accomplish that.
At the least expense with the greatest benefit.
Did you want to open it up to Stephen Codor? I saw he was on here, and if he has anything he would like to talk about.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm pretty much done, but I'd love to have Stephen join us, and also our 2 Senate presidents as well. Stephen, any thoughts?
Thank you, Dr. Buckley. Really nothing from us. I just, again, as I always do on these times when I have staff and faculty here, I just want to encourage you. I thank you for being such an integral part of our institution and for providing so much support for our students. We really, the students can only be successful with the faculty and staff really pouring their lives into them. So just appreciate all that you're doing. As most of you know, I've been working at the state level with the Student Senate, and we're still pushing for more, DEI within our institution. We're looking at Cal Grant reform right now to really help out our students. We're looking over a student fee handbook to allow for students to be able to use their representation funds to be able to provide for more resources for students right now during this time. So, we're going to keep on trying to provide a more equitable and more just successful system for our students. So if you have any bright ideas, I'd love to hear them. I'm always open to having that line of communication there. But just thank you for all that you do.
Stephen, I may invite you along on some of my virtual visits to legislators over the next 6 weeks, because we need to get to them with regard to the bills that are currently on the floor about Cal Grants and other funding opportunities. And also there are 6 bills out there to solve the digital divide. And we know that internet access in our communities, as you have testified to, is one of our greatest challenges. And by the way, you reminded me of something I didn't say earlier, and that is, for those of you that have noticed the annual report, we called out the fact that the good work that was started by Amanda Tainter, I think back in 2007 with a group of the rest of you, on OER, Open Educational Resources. We've served nearly 14,000 students and saved nearly $1.4 million in students' costs for textbooks. That still remains one of the greatest barriers for our students to really successfully complete a class. So I would encourage you to continue conversations with the Academic Senate to basically find a way to have what I'm referring to as a sustainable OER collection or resources for our classes, and expand that as much as we can into our zero textbook course offerings as well. And maybe on that note, I'll toss the ball to Rebecca Snyder.
Can I just really quick, Stephen, if you can get students and encourage them to please attend the task force meeting for the CARES funding, because I really, really, really need student input.
Yeah, I actually, I'll be one of those students. I just need to know the information, but I will get some others to follow along with me.
Yeah, and if you notice in the chat, the OER people have begun to cheer themselves along. So, and it is something that if you want some professional development, please contact Academic Senate. There's a lot of things going on through Academic Senate right now, non-credit, OER, lots of professional development opportunities, especially in equity right now. So, you know, reach out to me, reach out to anybody on exec, reach out to the people you know that are doing these. This is a good time right now when all of our schedules are a little more flexible to do a lot of this work. And so, you know, that is something we would like to continue to push through all of this. One thing I kind of like to see, because I'm always in all of these meetings where people turn to me and say, what does the faculty think? And I know what a lot of you think because you text me during these town halls or you tell me privately offline. I wish that people would drop in the chat something about what do we think is going on with our students right now? What do they think they most need right now? Or what have you heard from your students that you think that everybody on this chat should know about? Because it's a lot of times it's me talking from a very limited perspective of the people that I know and the people who share with me. And this is a good opportunity to share what you think. And only one person has done it. There we go. Do you think they're having financial issues or scheduling issues? What do you think is the hardest thing? I like Steve. I feel deer in the headlights too, Steve. Yeah, emotional support, Victor Rios. Those of us who got a chance to see that, that was really, I think, a good message. Yeah, and some practical things like MiFis. I'll, you know, you don't need to hear me read the chat. So I know you wanted to talk to Catherine too, but people could keep doing that. And even things about what do you think would encourage them to enroll in next fall? Is it more face-to-face classes? Is it more synchronous offerings? I've told Dale and others that I think that should be department by department and discipline by discipline, but I'd be curious to see what people think if you could drop it in the chat too. That's all I have.
Catherine, your turn.
Okay. I already dropped one item in the chat earlier. So Classified Senate is having a fundraiser right now. We're selling See's candy online. I can drop the link again here when all of this calms down. But all proceeds will go to our student scholarship fund. Abby, I'm talking right now. And let's see. Other thing that I wanted to bring up is that we're looking to have a professional development day for classified sometime maybe early June. So if any of you classified have ideas about what you would like any of the sessions to be or what we should offer that day, please let me know either in the chat or by email.
How much per box?
There's a range of prices. You can get like a 2-pound assortment for $47, 1 pound for $24. All the way down to some of those large chocolate eggs for $7. We have peanut brittle. There's lots of stuff on there.
I'll talk to you later. I love C's.
Sounds good. Sorry, and that's all I have.
Well, I appreciate all the feedback. Rebecca generated quite a bit of interest in that question, and I appreciate that. I think that the toughest thing to remember is that when we make recommendations and or decisions, we do need to base that on information and data as much as we possibly can. And you actually serve as that conduit from our students in real time. So when you have that information, it's good to send it on through to us. Maybe the last thing I should mention is that, in that same vein, we met as a small group to talk about something we're describing as the barrier box. It's kind of the 21st century suggestion box. We're probably going to be launching pretty shortly a Qualtrics survey online, in addition to identifying 4 locations around the campus, like the mailroom, a good central location, the student center, residence hall, and help me remember the other spot.
Mailroom, did you say that one?
I mentioned that one.
Out in the library, did you say that one?
I think I skipped the library. Thank you. That was the missing piece. Thank you. So the point is, we'll have a clipboard with hard copy of the survey form for people to fill out with a pen or a pencil attached. But we'll also have the Qualtrics form online. So I think as you hear things, as you think of things yourself, any way you get the information to us would be helpful, because I think the more information we gather from you and through you, the better we can be at informing our actions and our decisions. I started that conversation off. So whether it's what we're spending money on or what we're building or where we're building it for that matter, all that is important to know. But right down to the issue of basic skills, basic needs, I should say, and the needs of our students. So all that is critically important to having a good functioning college. Again, I wanted to thank you all for the work you're doing. Anyone have any closing comments? Let's hang in there. Realize we're going to be getting more information out on vaccinations as we get more information. So stay tuned.
Thank you.
Thank you all. See you soon.